Hospital porters, pride and dignity, stop the New World Order. Welcome to Panwo TV. This is going to be a bit of a sad video. It's a little bit like my video reply to Slackser, but that was an interlude video. I'm not going to make this an interlude video. I am going to actually make it one of my main videos, and I'm going to post it on the Panwo TV blog. But it's similar in theme, although it's more, I'm going to go into more general areas. I'm going to explore some of the areas in the film I made about Slackser, which I didn't at the time, which is more general. However, there is a similarity between my Slackser video and this one. The similarity is that it involves the ending of a friendship. And it's actually one of the oldest and closest friendships I've ever had in the truth movement, and it's come to an end, and I'm very sad about that. The person I'm talking about is Heidi. I'm not going to say her second name. Regular viewers will know who I'm talking about. I'm not going to post a link to her channel page. Again, you'll know who I'm talking about if you watch regularly. Heidi has fallen out with me. It happened very suddenly. It happened unexpectedly. I had no idea this was going to happen, although I know she is volatile. There's occasions when she's fallen out with me before briefly. She's gone on a bit of a rant and just temporarily decided I'm bad and then come back to me. This time it looks like it's more permanent. What happened was, this is kind of the theme of this video. She posted a video by somebody who, a YouTube user, and this video was like a 13-minute rant explaining how evil Belinda McKenzie and Tony Farrell are. Now, I know those people. A lot of you don't trust those people. I don't 100% trust Belinda, certainly. And you know my views on the Holly Gregg case. You know that I believe it was a hoax, it was a mistake, and we in the truth movement fell for it. And it's a big long story, but I've written about this before and I've done a radio show about it. So Heidi sent me this video, and I took a look at this guy's channel page, and every single video he's done, he's got about he's got over 100 uploads. And almost every single one of them is a diatribe about another member of the truth movement. All right, I'm not. This is not Bada Bing I'm talking about. All right, I know that moron Bada Bing, and he is a moron because he does this, right? Well, this guy's similar to Bada Bing, except if anything, he's even worse. This retard has just dedicated all his precious internet time to slagging off other truthers. Now so I wrote in the Heidi posted this on Facebook. Okay, she posted this on Facebook. I made a comment on it. The comment I made was, I'm sick and tired of these people who do nothing else but just go on and on and on and on about who's a shill and who's not a shill. I know real shills exist, but this obsession with them all, this obsession with saying who each one is, often without any evidence, is completely counterproductive, and it gets us nowhere, and it does much more harm than it does good. Heidi's response to this was to go into she went into a hysterical tailspin like I've never seen before. She hurled abuse at me in the comments box. She sent me a message calling me a fat ugly thought form, and she blocked me on Facebook. She's since been posting all over Facebook, and she's made a video on her channel saying all kinds of things about me, saying that I'm a shill. The video on her channel is all about a joke video that I made, and she knows it's a joke video. I explained it was a joke video, but she's saying I'm a shill. She's calling me a shill protector. It's this polarisation, isn't there? Maybe I'll talk a little bit about Dr. Jonathan Reed and go through some of the comments about that. Calling me because I won't join this this internet shill policeman in his crusade against everybody else in the truth movement. I'm somehow a shill protector. See how this is? It's like polarisation, isn't it? You're either with me or you're against me. You're either with us or you're with the terrorists. You're either with Bada Bing or you're with the shills. And so I wrote to Heidi, as I said, I maintain my dignity. I'm an ex-hospital porter after all. And I said, look, you posted a video on my wall asking for my opinion. I gave you an honest opinion. Would you prefer me to lie? And she said, she just replied, yeah, but your opinion is that you want to protect shills. You don't care about shills. And there was lots of other long angry diatribe. She accused me. Well, another thing she accused me of. She said that I had not taken down. She asked me to take down some of the videos she was in, and I had not done it. And she's been posting all over the internet, all over Facebook, all over all social media, and on her blog that and on some. She put some comments on some of my videos as well. Maybe I should block her. I don't know. That I had not taken. She'd asked me to take down some of the videos that she was in because she featured in some of my videos. In fact, we collaborated on several projects, and she asked me to take those videos down, and I didn't. Well, that's true. She did. She wrote to me last year and asked me to take down a video. She suddenly, out of the blue, asked me to take down a video that she was in. Now, I tell her when she agrees to be in these videos with me, I tell her, if you're not happy with the material we shoot, we'll reshoot it. You know, she was asking me to take down a video this was after it had been uploaded. This said after I'd done all the editing work and uploaded it, and she wanted me to take it down. It already had about 800 views, and she wanted me to take it down. I said, no, it doesn't work like that. You agreed to be in these videos. You're happy with the content. When you have to agree you're happy with the content when I upload them. I tell her this. I told her. I tell everybody who's in my video, if you don't like what I'm doing, if you collaborate with me, or you feature in one of my videos, you don't like what I'm doing, you tell me when I'm shooting. You don't tell me after I've done all this hard work, I've processed the video, I've uploaded it, and it's had 800 views. You don't do that. So I refuse to take down the video. Well, because of this bitch trip she's on, I've now done it. In fact, I've taken down every video I've ever done with her in, and that's a couple of dozen, and it's a great shame because some of them are real crackers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to remake some of those videos. I think I can remake some of them at least, and I want to remake some of them. It may involve some travel, in some cases some quite long distance travel, but I'm determined to do it because some of them are really good. So I'm going to remake those videos without her in. Oh, it's a bit of a nightmare. Anyway, we've now parted company, and after the things she said to me and about her unstable personality, I certainly will never ever feature her in any of my videos again, even if she comes to me and apologises like she did last time. She's probably going to do again. She'll probably come to me in a couple of days saying she's sorry, begging forgiveness. I'm not the type to bear a grudge, but I can't, after this, I can't go back to what we had before. It's not a question of being unforgiving. It's a simple question of practicalities and how much shit I'm able to take from people, which is not very much, and I don't want to. I try to be sympathetic to Heidi because she has mental problems. I know people say that about me, alright, but Heidi really has. So I'm trying not to be too hard on her, but the things she said to me, the things she's done, the things she's accused me of, the slanderous material she's posting all over the internet at the moment, which she can do. I can't exactly sue her, can I? It's like, all I know is you guys, anyone who knows me will know she's talking crap. That's the only comfort I can get. And some people have already posted on the video she made about me. So I've already had some supportive sort of jocular comments, basically telling her she's making a fool of herself, and she is. Oh, so goodbye, Heidi. I won't say good riddance because, like, as with Slack say, we've had some good times, and I love that girl, really, in a way. I mean, not as a... We've never been a couple, but we've been enormously close platonic... She's an enormously close platonic friend. She was a very close platonic friend who I felt a lot of love for, in a completely non-sexual way. We've never been a couple. I don't think we ever could be a couple. But she could be delightful. When she was in a good mood, she could be delightful. And I'm going to miss that. And nothing now. After this, I can't go back to how things were before. She's completely ruined everything. So that's a shame. But that's life. You lose friends, you move on. Anyway, this is part of a bigger issue within the truth movement at the moment. A very, very serious issue which is affecting the truth movement, which I'm going to talk about some more in right now. I'm going to go into it in more detail. Now in this film I'm going to discuss in detail several examples of what I'm talking about. There are many other examples I can give which I can touch on briefly before we begin with the main subjects of this film. There are too many actually for me to discuss in detail, because it happens so often in the truth movement nowadays. The hostility ebbs and flows. It sort of rises like a tide and then it dissipates, but it never completely dissipates. It comes in and it goes out, and it rises and falls. And when it rises, I'd say the entire truth movement is almost dominated by this. What's the word for it? Punch up, internecine punch up. I mean, a good example recently is Colonel Charles Holt of the Rendlesham Forest incident. He told the world on live radio that Larry Warren is a substance abuser. This is false. Larry is understandably enraged with Holt about it. But the question is, why is there this conflict within the witnesses? There was these witnesses to a major UFO incident seem to all fallen out at some point and be fighting each other. Not all of them. I mean, you know, Larry and Warren and John Burroughs are now friends. But there's Jim Penniston, there's Colonel Holt. They're all having a go at each other, and Holt is one of the worst offenders. And when he was the deputy base commander of the unit of the base where this event took place, you'd think he'd take a lead, and he'd adopt that role within this UFO research community. But he doesn't. He just snipes and gripes. There are many other examples. Now, I myself have been on the receiving end of this. Now, it's true. I should point out that there's been a hate campaign against me by a gang of skeptic trolls for the last 5 years, and you expect this from the skeptics, because they're on the other side. All right, like I've talked before about Sally Morgan and about things like that, and about the abuse they've received, Meryl Dorey. You'd expect that from them. But not these. This is internal truth movement conflict we're talking about here, and it is when it's at its height, it's almost tearing the movement apart. And some people, I know people who just given up. I know a guy who was a member of the truth movement. He's just dropped off the scene altogether, and he says he's now learning to live without hope. He says we can't stop this new world order because we're too busy fighting each other. And that's an important point. I'm going to come on to that, because the real issue, the real problem here, the real damage that this does is that while we're focusing on these little petty squabbles, we're ignoring what really matters. What's really going on in this world. I'll say more about this at the end. There's plenty of other examples. There's, of course, Charlie Veitch. Now, I don't know if that counts, because Charlie Veitch kind of dropped out of the truth movement, but the way he was treated was appalling. I'm still on good terms with Charlie. I don't agree with him, you see. I don't agree with him over 9/11. I think he made a mistake over 9/11. I think he made a mistake getting involved with that bloody BBC documentary. And so, as regular viewers will know, there was a follow-up series to that 9/11 conspiracy road trip. I was asked to take part in it myself. I declined. There's a good example of how malicious and how brutal people in the truth movement can be, and they'll turn on each other as well as on the enemy. I mean, it's unbelievable. The other day, Leonard Nimoy, the actor who plays Mr. Spock in Star Trek, he died. And we were posting a lot of tributes, and there was a photo of someone on the International Space Station doing the Vulcan salute with the hand held up with the middle finger on one, the two fingers on one side and two on the other. Somebody posted in the comments box there, something like "Good riddance to the Zionist bastard" or something like that. This is an actor who died, who played a lovable and fascinating character, and this guy's having a go at us for that. I don't know what to say to that level of stupidity. How do I argue with retards like that? What's interesting as well is there's a direct parallel here between internal conflict within our movement and within the skeptics. I mean, there's a lot of parallels between the skeptic movement and us, as if we're kind of like antitheses. The skeptics have said this as well. We're antitheses of each other. As I've mentioned before on several shows, like the Michael Shermer video, on several of these videos, on my films, I mean, like the Michael Shermer one and the Sally Morgan one. The skeptic movement is currently live with internal disputes. It's infested with internecine spats and hostility. The skeptics are fighting over how closely atheism and skepticism should be united as a movement. They're arguing over the role of women in the skeptic movement, their rights and their obligations. They're arguing over libertarianism within the skeptic movement. They're arguing over, and when I say arguing, I mean, and I said fighting before, I mean they're literally fighting. Their abuse has become criminally violent, and the police have had to be involved. So it's remarkable. It's a really remarkable and very sad thing. Now I'm going to say a bit more on this. I mean, firstly, despite the title of this video, I do care about shills. I know real shills exist, but this is not the way to deal with them. It is not. Now, the first example I want to talk about today is centered on a publication by the Kent Freedom Movement. Now, I know the Kent Freedom Movement, I know members within it, and I've been to some of their meetings, and this article was released, and I had to comment on it. I'm not going to post a link to the article in this description box because there's too many sources for what I'm going to talk about today, but there are links in the description box to the Hapanwo voice posts where I discussed this, and within those articles are links to the relevant pieces of literature and videos. Yeah, this article was posted on the Kent Freedom Movement website, and it concerns this lady, Danielle Laverite. Now, she's a relative newcomer to the truth movement, but I think nearly everybody's heard about her. She's made a big impression in the short time she's been active with her very popular YouTube vlog. And I mean, again, you probably can find her just by googling her name. She has a website, daniellelaverite.com, and her YouTube channel, and it's a very simple style she has. It's just a talking head narration. She just sits usually in the corner of her bedroom, but she's very intelligent, she's perceptive, and she's witty. And her wit, of course, is rather X-rated, certainly adult. But she's like Chris Spivey. She's plain speaking. She doesn't hold back from swearing. I think she's very creative, and I admire her for that. And I don't have a problem. I'm not a little kid. I'm an ex-hospital porter. I don't blush at the sound of four-letter words. I like what she does, and she has popularised some unusual profanities. She's quite creative in her swearing. Actually, there's one word she used, cunt waffle. She didn't invent that herself, it's true, but she did popularise it. And she's done a couple of radio interviews, including, I haven't had her on my show yet, I really must get her on my show. But she's done some radio interviews, like with Niall Murphy of the Shamanic Freedom Radio, and she comes across as very dedicated. She's very concerned about the New World Order. She's very sincere, and she does she takes what she does very seriously. She has this clever sense of humour, and in this world, I think having a laugh is often mistaken. If it's mistaken for trivialization, then that's a shame, because having a laugh, I think, is essential. If you're in the truth movement, having a laugh can be the only way for some people, including me, to maintain our sanity. So don't mistake jocularity with trivialisation. Okay, it's very important, that is. If you don't have a laugh, you'll go crazy, because there's so much evil you have to deal with when you start getting into the issues we talk about in the truth movement. And for this reason, I mean, this article on the Kent Freedom Movement, it made me sit up, it made me read. Now, the title of the article is, it pulls no punches, and it sets the tone for the whole text. The degenerate filth of the truth movement, Danielle La Verite. And the cover of it, it's illustrated with several pictures, and the title picture illustration is Danielle on her. She made a video called Forum Haters, and she has a colander on her head, and it has the word shill is embossed over the colander. In this, they photoshopped the word shill on it. Now, I had to read through it, and of course, I mean, you can't stop people from thinking something else about another person. You've got no right to. The blog author of the KFM, you know, is entitled to personally regard Danielle and what she does as degenerate filth. You know, it's and the word shill is, of course, on this colander. Shill, of course, is conspiratorial jargon. It means basically a government agent who has been inserted into the conspiratorial movement by the intelligence services to do it damage. And this author on the Kent Freedom Movement is calling Danielle's material degenerate filth and accusing her of being a shill. Now, as I said, it's one thing to have a personal dispute with someone, another thing to call them a shill. Okay? Calling someone a shill is a very serious matter, and I really think you shouldn't do it unless you have evidence. So what we get, when I read through this article, the impression I get is that the author on the Kent Freedom Movement deeply dislikes Danielle. Okay? Firstly, dislikes her style, foul language, anomalous frolics. She dresses up as a rabbit in one of her videos. And this author thinks this makes truthers appear like idiots. Well, I've watched that video myself, and I disagree. It looks to me like a rather avant-garde comedy piece, and I don't see any harm in it. I don't think it makes people in the truth movement look like idiots. I think it's simply Danielle's chosen expression of satire and fun. As I've said, I think what makes us look idiots is when these people start hurling abuse at each other and shill shaming each other for no reason. Obviously, this doesn't appeal to everybody, all right. Even if it might offend some people, the bad language would offend people. Well, that's life. Grow up. And this author has compiled a detailed dossier of all the expletives Danielle uses in her videos, complete with timestamps. And they've made a video. I mean, Eddie, Debbie's boyfriend, he's made a video about Danielle, which is like a follow-up video, because they got into a terrible argument where it was awful. Debbie ended up getting sacked. He's written it anyway. This author in the Kent Freedom Movement claims that they're good at spotting COINTELPRO, which is government psychological operations agents, shills in other words. And they say the reason they think that Danielle is COINTELPRO. Why? Because they don't like her style. This author states that they feel awkward or embarrassed showing Danielle's material to their mother, and that makes it suspicious. No, it doesn't. It's not suspicious. It means that it doesn't appeal to the author's tastes or their mothers. Nothing more, nothing less. And that's not. I don't have a problem with that. Okay. There are people I myself would not show Danielle's material to, because I know it would offend them. This does not mean that Danielle is some kind of undercover infiltrator from the Frankfurt School just because of that. You see, this is what they accuse her of. They say she's been put in there by various fifth column psychological warfare operations to break down the truth movement, to make us look like idiots, to make us look dirty and things like that. It's ridiculous. People like and dislike certain things. There are those who are repelled by bad language,
and the kind of humour that Danielle uses. That's life. You be the judge, okay? You know the people you want. You know the people in your life that you talk to. You might bring up the subjects about these things, okay? If it's some old lady who's very prim and proper and very, very vulnerable and very genteel, okay, you know that you should not show Danielle La Verité's material to her, okay? Yeah, if it's some kind of like bricklayer down the pub who swears a lot himself and is more resilient, some 40-year-old tough guy with tattoos, alright, you can show him Danielle's material. You know it's fine. I don't think Danielle is not driving people away from the truth movement, alright, because of her style. They're putting themselves in the shoes of everybody coming into contact with the truth movement for the first time. This is what the Kent Freedom movement are doing. They cannot possibly speak for all those people. Now, there's plenty of other promotional material out there which is more family orientated. I mean, I would recommend her Panwo TV. I mean, how often do I swear in my own output? Very rarely. I try to keep my material family orientated. Now, this is interesting, right? Because the next thing it says in this article from the Kent Freedom Movement is that the author objects to Danielle's posts on Facebook. What happened was she got into a bitter and aggressive argument with other people on Facebook. Well, hold the front page, everybody. Somebody actually said this: logging into Facebook is like stepping into a nightclub. Everyone's battling with everybody else. They use a rudeness of a tone they'd never stoop to in face-to-face conversation. Now, I can show you comments on the Panwo forum which make Danielle's look like passages from a Ladybird book. Okay, the internet is like that. It's a place where trolls, cyberbullies, they trawl like sharks. From what I've read through some of the stuff that they're saying, the Kent Freedom Movement have posted some. They posted some links. I've looked through these links of the conversations between Danielle and her detractors. As far as I can tell, they're pretty evenly matched side. It's like Slaxer and Steve Trueblood. They're out there. They're both evenly matched. What basically they should just they should. I don't think KFM have a right to complain about that. They don't need anybody's help to stand up to Danielle. Danielle doesn't need anyone's help to stand up to them. Okay. Oh, if you don't like it, necessarily, like, go and look at something else. Danielle's apparently initiated these keyboard duels, but it's all very. They put some screen caps in, right, of things Danielle have said, but they don't mention anything that they've said to her. They called her degenerate filth. So what we're looking at here is rhetoric. That's what it is. Now, this article from the KFM is full of rhetoric, and when things are full of rhetoric, it's hard to analyse it effectively. I'm going to bring up maybe John. If I've got time in this video, I'll bring up Dr. Jonathan Reed at the end. But I did say in that video that this excessive use of rhetoric is effectively threatening the reader. It's saying, you have to agree with me or else. Now, this is an insult to our intellectual sovereignty. And rhetoric is often used to substitute reasonable argument where none exists. It's what Stefan Molyneux talks about when he talks about sophists. Sophistry. Shut up. And I think this is very, very relevant. It is sophistry. Pardon me. Now, so this is the impression I get from reading this article. Now, Eddie posted a comment underneath my when I wrote my review of their article saying, "Oh, you haven't even read it. Shame on." He said all kinds of unfair things to me, and because this is something I'm going to bring up later when I talk about Kevin Annett. They immediately you go off like not Vicky Pollard. What's her name? Lauren, the teenager in not Little Britain. Was it Catherine Tate? Oh, you're calling my dad a pikey. You're disrespecting my family. It's like having an argument with someone like that. Now let's see what. So when we're talking about accusing someone of being a shill, okay, you need evidence. Okay, that they're a shill. I know real shills exist. Okay, but I'm not interested in hearing people accused of being shills because they don't like somebody else. I don't care if the KFM author feels offended by a few four-letter words or doesn't see the funny side of a few offbeat jokes. they're making a specific accusation against Danielle Laverite. I want to see their reasoning. What evidence do they have that Danielle Laverite is a shill? This evidence, right? One part of the evidence is her name, right? Danielle Laverite is not her real name, and she's made all kinds of claims around that. Okay, because Danielle is not her real name, but her surname Laverite is not. It is actually French. It means truth in French, so she's like Danielle Truth. And KFM go on and on about this, and Eddie rants on about this in his video for about 20 minutes. But how is this significant? I know several people who use more than one name, especially in cyberspace. Pseudonyms are acceptable. Well, they're calling her a hypocrite, right? Because she divorced her statute law identity, like I've done, and she still carries on to use, with a different name. And they're saying, well, you carry on using that name even though you've divorced it, etc., etc. Bloody hell! So what? Is that evidence that Danielle is a shill? No. I've used different names at a certain point. On my forum, I'm Hagbard Celine. Now, they need more than that. They need to do better than that, right? Now, the only piece of evidence they have that Danielle is a shill is that she had a brief liaison with a group called the Reset. Now, that is an issue of legitimate concern, because I've heard of the Reset. Okay, it seems to be similar to this cartel of organisations that were behind the controlled Occupy camp in London. Things like the Wayseers and people like that. Various. Now these are supposedly alternative fronts, but they're controlled by all kinds of. The Rockefeller Institute controls, the Rockefeller Foundation controls some of them, things like that. The Occupy movement, unfortunately, was a controlled opposition. And the KFM have done a lot of good work to expose this. Now, see, this is the thing. The KFM have done some good. The KFM, in many ways, have been an excellent organisation. They've done some great activism work, some great exposés, some brilliant research. Has done a lot of good. They expose the Reset. They've written about how it's connected to Agenda 21. It's connected to the New Age. It's connected to the Tavistock Institute, to the Fabian Society, to the Frankfurt School. They're quite right to do that. But Danielle's alleged links to this Reset are very tenuous indeed, and they admit this in this article. Danielle knew somebody who was at the Reset. Okay, that's it. There's no evidence, there's no documentary data, no text, no video to indicate that Danielle was any more involved in the Reset than that. Now, Danielle became interested in the truth movement during her study of serial killers and how they tended to have links to military mind control projects, and that is a legitimate subject, which many researchers have covered, including me. And the KFM pour scorn on Danielle because apparently she has no written works currently available about this. It's like she just suddenly came from nowhere. Well, maybe she was just reading and thinking about it. Is this a case for the prosecution in a shillhood trial? And the same goes for Danielle's experience with the social services in her children's school. So what if she's reluctant to talk about it? I've been in a similar situation myself with my daughter. I don't bring it up in every introduction. What's the author's point here? What are the KFM saying? And Danielle mentions Holly Gregg, which of course I put that down to inexperience. She mentioned Holly Gregg 4 months after she uploaded her first video. Now this is intriguing. The KFM author goes on about Danielle's affiliation, in scare quotes, to the UK column. And that's evidence for being COINTELPRO because the author believes UK column are as such. Brian Gerrish, Lou Collins, they're all COINTELPRO. Lou Collins is a good friend of Danielle's. And Lou does a radio show and Danielle's been on it a couple of times. But they don't explain exactly what form this affiliation takes. Danielle does not work for the UK column. Now, or does she? What is it? They don't explain. They just say, oh, she's affiliated to the UK column. No, affiliate is a big word. I'm not affiliated to the Paradigm Research Group. Although I write a lot about what they do. I cover a lot of what they do in these videos. I'm not affiliated to them. I'm independent. You've got to define exactly what you mean, KFM. Now, this is another thing I've heard about, right? UK column, of course, it's this newspaper, it's this website. It features several people I know and respect: Brian Gerrish, Lou Collins, Ian R. Crane, Bill Maloney, etc. Now these guys have been accused of being, guess what? They've been accused of being government-run psychological operations to derail the truth movement. The thing about it is, I think, can you actually name one person, a prominent member of the truth movement, who has not at some point been accused of being a government-run psychological operation designed to derail the truth movement? I myself have. Maybe that's a good sign. Maybe I should take it as a compliment. It means I'm having an impact. You see, I come across this mindset all the time. In a little while I'll talk about some other examples. But it's just endemic. I'm going to talk about an example in the world of ufology, in the world of child protection, and in the world of the alternative media. But I mean, the thing about it is, okay, people who accuse others of being shills may have a genuine gripe. There, as I say, real shills do exist. But it's impossible to know because no one wants to have a rational, civilized discussion about it. What you have instead, you have this collection of warring tribes with whom you're either for or against. If you raise a single word of doubt or even inquiry, you will be instantly and reflexively denounced as a shill yourself. Either that or you'll be patronised with emasculating platitudes like, "Oh, you really don't understand these things, Ben. You know, you have a very weak mind if you think that." And I understand, but you need to realise the world is a bad place, and you haven't experienced that. Fuck off. I mean, here's a good quote from the KFM. I just swore, didn't I? That's me. I'm a shill. I just swore. I'm working for the Frankfurt School. I'm breaking down families. All right, here's a quote from the KFM. Okay. Whereby Danielle has her Facebook and YouTube sycophants supporting her day and night to cuss and curse at anyone that might question their precious Danielle. Unquote. Well, that puts me in my place, doesn't it? Because when it comes to these factions, you're either with them or against them. You cannot disagree. It's not permitted to disagree. You'll be told that evidence exists, but you won't be allowed to examine it because it will never be shown to you. What happens instead is you'll have a package supposedly containing the evidence contemptuously hurled in your face with a wrapping paper of insults, threats, rhetoric and moral blackmail. I'll talk more about that later. And I think one of the reasons I'm writing about this case is because I've been in the same position as Danielle, and I feel sorry for her, what she has to go through. So this is why I'm annoyed. I mean, this is a great pity, okay? Because the Kent Freedom Movement is part of this tendency, and the reason it's a pity is because they've done some brilliant research and activism work. As I've said, they're one of the first people who joined forces with Nick Colostrum to expose the false flag sham of the Woolwich incident. I have good friends who are members of the KFM. I've travelled with them to attend KFM meetings, and I regret now that because of this, what I've been saying, I'll never be invited back there again. I know I won't be. I unfriended the people, not my good friends, but the Eddie and Debbie. I unfriended them on Facebook before they had a chance to do it to me. Before I even wrote the article, because I knew they were going to do it to me. And I'll miss that, actually. I'll miss going to those meetings. Now, the truth of the matter is, what I've seen here is I've seen very little reason indeed to think that Danielle La Verite is no more than what she appears to be. She's a genuine person who wants to take action against the New World Order. She's eccentric in her delivery, but then so am I. We're individuals, we're proud of it. I mean, I don't think the truth movement needs its own brand of political correctness, and I think a bit of Wilsonian Discordianism could do us good. Now, Danielle's manner is uninhibited, it's blunt, she likes satire, she likes adult humour, she likes black comedy. Some viewers don't like it, others will. There's some vague suggestion that she's encountered some dubious individuals and organisations in the course of her brief career in the world of conspiracy. These matters are worth keeping an eye on, but there's no sign that she has decisively planted her flag on any of them. In fact, she comes across as a complete independent. The Kent Freedom Movement has presented no case at all to suggest that Danielle La Verite is a shill. Nothing. They've expressed a profound personal dislike for her, and she has for them. That's all. Fall out with someone, get into personal arguments with people, for goodness sake, don't aggrandise it and project it onto some fantasy scenario where the other person you don't like is working for the government. Now, I've lost friends by writing. I told you about the friend I lost at the beginning of this article. I've lost more, but I don't care. It's a price you have to pay for speaking your mind in this world. If an issue is important enough to write about and people don't like it, then tough, a friend to all, is a friend to none. Right, now I'm going to talk about the anti-Kevin Annett cult. And I don't need to repeat a lot of the points I've just made, because what applies to Kevin Annett what applies to Kevin Annett also applies to Danielle Laverite, and vice versa. But a few months ago, in fact shortly before Christmas, an attack was launched against Kevin, one of many. And Kevin is a former vicar from Canada. He's been exposing child abuse and genocide. And I don't need to go into the background of Kevin, because, as I said, I'll put links in the description box. But the accusation is that Kevin is lying to and intimidating and cheating people who've been supporting him. Okay? And some very serious accusations were made. A couple of videos were put up featuring several people, several women, who had supposedly they accused him of everything from fraud to sexual harassment. And before long, an entire collection of people began sort of like accumulating around this, these two women and the other people involved. And this little cabal of people did everything they could to disseminate this supposed revelation, to inform others about Kevin Annett. Now, I say informing, but is that the right word? Because I was approached by this group of people. Someone put a comment on a Panmo TV video I did with Kevin. I actually did a video of one of Kevin's lectures, and someone put a comment, and a comment about Kevin, and this is what they didn't say. You'd think, right, if they wanted to inform me that Kevin Annett is guilty of certain crimes, you'd think they'd say, "Hey Ben, have you heard about Kevin Annett? He's a fraud. Here's the evidence against him. Take a look." Okay, that's what you expect, wouldn't you? Right? But that's not what happened. The person, quote unquote, informing me said this: "You should be ashamed of yourself, Ben. You should be ashamed of your long-term willful ignorance. Your rant on his behalf was nothing more but an emotional, empty diatribe. You're promoting a liar and a confidence trickster. He's a con man, and you're a dumb, easy target for him." That was how this person chose to inform me about this information about Kevin Annett. Now, in the midst of this memo, my, what should I call him, correspondent, included a few questions that I should ask about Kevin, the nature of which lead me to think that all he has done is all this guy has done, who contacted me, is watch these videos with these women. And they've read a few 4-year-old blog postings, because if you Google Kevin Annett fraud, there's lots of material on several blogs and several other websites. They're about 4 years old. All the stuff with Greg Renew from that, you know. This person who contacted me has just watched these videos. They've read these blog postings, and they've accepted it all as factual without further contemplation or question. And they dare to call me willfully ignorant. There's very little information available. I mean, this material that I'm talking about, these videos by these women and these blog posts, there's very little there which I haven't heard and seen long ago, many times. And I've covered it before in my own interviews with Kevin. I've interviewed him on her Panmo radio and things like this. This video, the video he was posting actually was put up in 2010. And I made some of these points to this guy, the same points I make in the about Danielle Laverite, and this guy answered thus, quote, "I've seen you a few times this year and just driven by. If you want to respond with me like that, I will stick my finger up. I will come over and I'll make sure," and basically threatens me with violence. Oh, I called the police. I called the police when this happened, and I warned this individual that I'm perfectly capable of defending myself with force, and I will do so to the fullest extent of the law if anyone attempts to assault me. And that goes for you watching this video. It's really sad, because we have yet another example of people completely failing to understand that persuading others can only be done through adult civilized discourse. You cannot menace and bully somebody into repeating your viewpoint and then claim that your viewpoint is therefore true as a result. That's what organised religions do. That's what oppressive state regimes do. That's what fascists and communists do. It's interesting that my assailant in this comments box, he also gives me a diatribe about my praise of Charlie Veitch, apparently. Praise for Charlie Veitch. Well, what he means by praise is that I've never said at any point that Charlie Veitch didn't deserve the death threats and threats to kill his baby son. Okay, that counts as praise. I said that Charlie didn't deserve that. So this is another trick sophists use: polarisation. Maybe I'll talk more about Dr. Jonathan Reed at the end. And some people are complying with the wishes of this anti-Kevin Annett cult, unfortunately. Some people have done this, right? Some people have actually, I think maybe, like I said, they've not been persuaded rationally. They've been bullied into supporting it. Alfred Weber is one of these people. And that's a shame, because I respect that guy for other things he's done. He's immediately disowned Kevin. He's removed all his interview recordings from his archive. And I wonder if Alfred decided to do that because he was convinced by the evidence presented to him in a rational, respectful manner. Really? Is that what happened to me? No. Probably, if my own experience is anything to go by, he was attacked the way I've been attacked. The only difference is he's given in and I haven't. If anybody really has evidence that Kevin Annett is a fraud and wishes to present it to me in a mature, friendly and rational tone, I'll have a look at it. I put this challenge out months ago. Nobody's responded. I also had Kevin Annett on my radio show, and he gave his response. But I will not be harangued and terrorised by online autocrats. This kind of behaviour is totally incompatible with how I wish to be treated by other people. It does not meet my standards. And my response will be the same as it was to my many critics who didn't like what I said about Daniel La Verite. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is involved in the world of UFOs. Now, I know people within the truth movement are divided over the issue of UFOs. A lot of the people I've discussed so far in this film are not interested in them. They regard it as epiphenomenal and irrelevant. Others, I think, are more open to the idea that UFOs are a truth issue. And there are many, many people like me who are very much broad church activists and researchers who delve into both subjects. Now, in the world of ufology, of course, there's different types of ufology. There's straight ufology, which is just a scientific study which tries to distance itself from conspiratorial ufology, which is what I'm involved in. So straight ufology, you have this 4T in ufology, Bufora, MUFON, groups like that. And on the other side you have the exopolitics, the Paradigm Research Group, the Disclosure Project, which is where I am. Now within that part of ufology, the conspiratorial ufology, although there is some crossover between the rest of the truth movement, it's not universal. But even in the parts which are not, you get exactly the same endemic situation: falling out, hostility, internecine suspicion, shill shaming. And this has infected that community too. And I don't like little gaming, as David Icke calls it, because this is all about little gaming, and I'm going to say more about that later. This idea that you have to devote all this time and energy to these little spats, and that I think is the biggest danger of this kind of little gaming. Now, this is an occasion where my character was impugned. It happened a while ago, actually. It happened last year, in fact, over a year ago. But I had to set the record straight, and I did. And believe it or not, it's all centred around a single YouTube link. Now, what happened was John Lundberg and Mark Pilkington, who are two Fortean ufologists, well, they're kind of Fortean skeptics. They made a film called Mirage Men, and I've reviewed it. And I also, you'll find links to that review in the background links. I've also reviewed their book. They wrote a book which I reviewed too. Now I found a video, a copy of that film on YouTube, and so I included a link, even though I've actually been to see the film at the cinema. But I included a link to it because I thought, well, it's obviously they've released it to YouTube. Anyway, soon afterwards the video of the film was removed for reasons of copyright violation, and I thought that might be the case, but I wasn't sure. I suspected from the start that might happen. The video was an unauthorized upload, I thought that, well, my first thought was, oh, they just uploaded it to YouTube, that's okay. But then I thought, no, is this a legitimate upload? But then, see, I proceeded on the assumption that the video was legitimate, because it's not possible to check the copyright status of every video I watch. And it turned out to be an unauthorized YouTube upload. And of course YouTube have correctly removed it. The producers, Pilkington and Lundberg, they don't want their film available on YouTube for free yet. And I respect their wishes. I've not posted any replacement links, even though I know it does still pop up occasionally on YouTube. I haven't even looked to see if any exist. And so I thought that was the end of the matter, but it wasn't. Because there was a Facebook group I used to be a member of. It was an exopolitics group that used to be affiliated to the Leeds Exopolitics Expo. It's no longer affiliated. But I was immediately lambasted for video piracy. That's insulting. It's ridiculous. I posted a single link to one measly YouTube video that turned out to be dodgy. And it wasn't a link. It wasn't a link to a page on bootlegfilmsrus.com or somewhere like that. Okay, it was YouTube. And of course, I'd never upload the film myself. Which is insane. I mean, I'm still bowled over by it a year later. The person who led this attack against me is somebody I'll call Jane, and she's a lady from Canada who is currently investigating. I say investigating, is that the wrong word? She's obsessed with a ufologist called Darren Perks, who she believes is engaged in fraudulent and deceptive activity. Now, people who used to listen to the Planet X Live will know that he used to be a fellow host of mine on the station, and in a nutshell, that is why I've had this animosity towards myself. This is why it's been levelled at me. Now, at first I said I'd help her, but I wish I hadn't. The moment I spoke to her on Skype, I felt she sounded very bit crazy, to be honest, and I backed off from the situation. Now, the reason she's against me is because I have a show on Planet X Live as well. And I feel I've been badly misrepresented in this situation. And the thing about it is, she might have a legitimate gripe about Darren Perks. Okay? But her campaign against him has been very shill. It's been very shrill. It's been very shrill. It's been self-righteous. It's been like that line. It's like that line from the Ben-Hur film. Ben-Hur. He says, "Judah, you're either with me or you're against me." And what you'll often find, I mean, I find this everywhere in life. If somebody resents you for one reason, they tend to be far harsher with you for other reasons, even if they're completely unrelated. But I'd been a member of that Facebook group for a long time, long before she was, and I wanted to continue interacting with the other members of that group. So I decided I'd just avoid discussing Darren Perks. And I tried to extricate myself from every conversation she launched against me, but it's just it was impossible. Now she made references to an offence that she alleges Darren Perks committed, that he deliberately broadcast and has published information on how to obtain illicit copies of Dr. Stephen Greer's film Sirius. And this is a crazy thing, Jane compared my action to Darren Perks directly, and that cannot go unanswered, and it did not. This is an example I'm talking about where I'm on the receiving end of this. I never attempted to breach the copyright of the Mirage Men producers. I mistakenly posted one YouTube link. I apologise for that. I'll post no more. I'm only going to apologise once. That's it. And my mistake was reasonable because YouTube is a public video sharing site. It has internal protocols preventing copyright theft. Oh, it's very sad. And unfortunately, she wasn't the only one who turned against me. She had this gang around her. I call them Perk Slims because they believe in the religion of Perkslam. Perkslam is a religion that has no god. It just has a devil, and his name is Darren Perks. Anyway, these Perk Slims, these radical Perk Slims, started attacking me, and saying all kinds of things about me, more than I could possibly respond to. One of them actually is a guy I'm still good friends with, and he's a guy we're both very fond of each other, and I didn't want to fall out with him. So we've just stopped talking about it. But it's funny, you know, because like he got involved with this campaign against Darren Perks, and when he was on that group, it was like he sort of like jumped on their bandwagon. I'm very surprised actually, because when I put this in the comments box, when I put this in on the Panwo post, I thought there'd be loads of comments, and there isn't, so maybe that's good. I thought there'd be a tirade by Jane disputing everything I've said. If she had posted a comment, I wouldn't have deleted it, because I don't practice censorship on my blog. I let readers make up their own minds. I don't read too many comments, because if I do that, like with Slaxer, I get tempted to post a counter rebuttal. Then I'm trapped in this infinite loop of ego-driven tit-for-tat personal argument. And as I said, this is a distressing, it's time-wasting. It's all too every day in the conspiratorial UFO community. It's because I had a show on Planet X Live. Planet X Live is apparently an MI5 front. Alright, so I was working for an MI5 front and I didn't care. That's the accusation against me. Well, the thing about it is, and when this issue first came up, people will say I was shown evidence against Darren Perks and I ignored it. But actually, this alleged evidence was not shown to me at all. It was wrapped in a package, and it was contemptuously hurled into my face, and it was wrapped in a parcel of rhetoric, threats, insults, and moral blackmail, exactly like with Kevin Annett. Now, Jane, if you're listening, if any other Perk Slims are listening, you can't treat people like that. Okay, that's not how you inform people, and there's only one response I ever give to such treatment. I returned the parcel to sender with a note enclosed, a raised middle finger, and a strident fuck you. Oh my God. Dearing me, I swore again. That's it. I'm a shill, everybody. I'm working for the Frankfurt School. I'm here for your children. Right now, the final example I'm going to go into detail about is David Icke versus Sonia Poulton. This is very, very sad. It's a very sad situation because it's emerged out of what was really the debacle of the People's Voice, and which I said was extreme. I was involved with the People's Voice myself, and I was very sad to see it go when it had so much promise, and it was those involved made us believe, those behind it made us believe it would be such a game changer, and it wasn't. Again, I mean, this is material. I won't go into the details of what I said about Danielle and the others, but I mean, when I posted this on a Panmo Voice, I did so with a very heavy heart. I didn't want to go into too much details about it, but I wanted to just expend as little energy as possible on this. And the same goes for this film, and that's the exact opposite of a lot of other people's intentions in the truth movement. And this is an issue that I've been aware of for a while, but I decided to say something because, again, I got sucked into it. Now, as the People's Voice went down, like the Titanic, a lot of people sucked down with it into this maelstrom of confusion, of anger, of blame. The aftermath of the People's Voice was regrettably but predictably bitter. Fingers began pointing. What had happened? Why? Who was to blame? Where was the donation money? Where's it all gone? Now, David Icke was the first person to actually speak publicly against him, and I know I've got a lot of respect for David, but I mean, to his discredit, he started playing this little game which he's warned us against, and he basically his narrative was all about this principal antagonist in his life, which was Sonia Poulton. Now, Sonia Poulton, she's an independent journalist, and unlike most of her fellow newsmen, she speaks openly about conspiratorial ideas. As soon as David said all this, she struck back with a couple of videos where she angrily defended herself. And to be honest, I don't know who's right and who's wrong here. You can find these videos. I mean, there's links in the description box to this. You can make your own minds up. I mean, the point about the David Icke versus Sonia Poulton thing is not who's right and who's wrong. The point is that, yet again, we have a personal dispute that has snowballed into a fully blown truth mob. That's what I call a truther mob. It's a good term, that, isn't it? Once again, you have this cluster of supporters that are gathering around both figures, waving placards, throwing paving stones at each other. Once again, you have both sides expect everybody else to join them. And once again, they try and press gang the undecided masses into adopting their cause, using the same methods: excessive rhetoric, moral blackmail, insults, force, threats, to force compliance, emasculating scorn, like calling people who won't join either side weak, and dupes, or indecisive ditherers. I mean, it wouldn't be so bad if they at least behaved sensibly and respectfully towards each other, but no, you have to join one side or the other. And anyone who doesn't want to get involved, like me, is accused of indecision and weakness, as if this is such a crucial issue that you have to take a side in. This is what I said to Slaxer. He got into a fight with Steve Trueblue. Oh, right. Well, right. This is extremely important. I mean, the consequences of this are so vital. I mean, why won't you join in? Why won't you help me, Ben? Why won't you back me up? I'm being attacked by Steve Trueblue. I'm a helpless little wallflower, and this nasty big bully is attacking me. Come on, Ben, help me. Stand up for me. Oh, come on. Shut up, Dave. That's the attitude they have, okay? So I'm digressing a bit. I'm angry again. But I was asked to join a Facebook group the other day called David Icke is Full of Shit. And I declined. And the moment I declined, people were writing to me, "Why aren't you joining this group? Don't you want to hear alternative views about your Messiah?" And again, you see, I won't join a group called David Icke is Full of Shit, therefore David Icke is my Messiah. You see, polarisation again. You either hate David Icke or he's your Messiah. Do I need to explain again what a ridiculous and unfair thing that is to say? I think I have a very, very nuanced viewpoint towards David Icke. I've spoken before about when I went to see David Icke live a few months ago. I have mixed feelings related to David Icke. Why on earth would anybody claim that David is my Messiah? And the reason is, the person who accused me of thinking David was my Messiah is a supporter of Sonia Poulton. He's actually a close friend of Sonia Poulton. I've not said a bad word about Sonia Poulton. I've only ever referenced her once at all, and that was where I talked about her debate with Katie Price, and I actually said how much I admired her for what she said to Katie Price. But it doesn't matter. I've not joined her side in this one-to-one tussle she's having with David Icke. I'm therefore completely against her and religiously devoted to supporting David Icke. In a truth mob, this is the morality of a truth mob. Every point is polarised. And in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if supporters of David Icke's side will accuse me of being an Icke basher. They'll accuse me of being an accomplice of Pam, David's ex-wife. I've already been accused of sexually fancying Sonia Poulton, or of working for Richard Warman, in this cultural Marxist thug who's trying to bring David down in Canada. You see, polarisation. Truth mobs are not capable of rational analysis. Everything is black and white. There's no discourse. There's no intelligent analysis. It's all, you're either with them or against them. And truth mobbing is taking up a huge amount of time and energy that could be spent more productively. And I'm going to say more about that at the end. And this situation is getting worse. As you see with Daniel Leverite, Kevin Annett, Darren Perks, these issues, when these issues pop up in videos on Facebook, they get massive amounts of attention. They get enormous number of views. They get the blog posts where I've brought these subjects up have had the highest viewing figures of any of my articles, and the most comments too. I've got over 50 comments on my Daniel Leverite article. And as I said, there are certain people within our community who do nothing else except truth mobbing. And it's really sad and insulting when I'm accused of cowardice, I'm accused of indecision, I'm accused of betrayal by both sides, because I won't drop everything else I'm doing and answer their call to arms. And this is the important issue I want to bring up. because it's vital. And this is now we're getting to the crux of why I'm speaking out about this now. Now, as many of you know, a few months ago, I attended the Rendlesham Forest Incident Conference in Woodbridge, in Suffolk, and I went to the live lecture by Dr. Jonathan Reed, and I filmed it. And on that video is up on YouTube, as you can see here. And I've had lots of comments. I've had an awful lot of feedback on that. In fact, I've had a massive number of comments. And it's really quite again, this is another example of what I'm talking about, okay? And people are contacting me. I mean, I went into a little bit of detail of this before the actual... I've uploaded this before, but even when people knew I was going to go to one of his lectures, I had people saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing going to his lectures? He's a fraud. He's a fake. He's a con man." Okay, well, I've had comments on these, and a lot of it is very relevant to the subject of this video. Okay, because I've had people saying that I've been addressed as fanboy. Okay, I've been addressed as fan because I did a lecture of Dr. Jonathan Reed. I filmed the lecture, and I didn't immediately denounce him as a fraud. I'm a fanboy. Now, this is what I mean by polarisation. Alright? This is what I mean by the fact that you're either with us or you're with the terrorists. You're either with us or you're with the shills. You're either a Sonia Poulton. You either want to have sex with Sonia Poulton desperately, all right, or you believe David Icke is your messiah, all right. It's either one or the other. There's nothing in between. You're not allowed to analyse. There's no. It really completely shuts down any form of thoughtful contemplation. It removes the ability to do that. It's funny because like the comments that were posted both before, which were sent to me before, and also on the video that I uploaded, they're all, you know, don't you know Dr. Jonathan Reed is a fraud? And they send you some links, right? These links are all without exception, the ones that I brought up at the beginning of the Dr. Jonathan Reed video. That 10-year-old, what is it, 10-year-old website, 8-year-old website, Dr. Jonathan Reed Exposed. Alright? And a few other videos that the Mythbusters made about him, or one of these other TV documentaries. And again, it's like the guy who contacted me about Kevin Annett. They know virtually nothing about Dr. Jonathan Reed. They haven't followed what he's been doing at all. They've looked at a couple of internet links and they've decided they're an expert. And then that gives them the right to both decide Dr. Jonathan Reed is a fraud without further analysis, without looking at the research by Dan McAvoy. They don't even know who it is. That gives them the right to go onto people's videos and call others a fanboy because they don't share these idiots' views. And as I said before, I mean, I've got, as I say here to Ali, to Al B, I think there's a part of him that's glad there are people out there like me, people who won't pour scorn on the man because of something written on a 20-year-old website. And it's like they don't even know. This guy hasn't even heard of Dan McAvoy. And he said underneath, "You're the most deluded person ever." He doesn't even, no argument, no rational reply to what I've said. He doesn't want to debate. He wants to just call. If he calls me deluded and he calls me a fanboy, and he calls me, all these other things enough time, I will somehow just start agreeing with him, and I'll just become part of his cabal, and I'll become part of his little clique, his anti Dr. Jonathan Reed cult. This is why this is probably the best example of the kind of thing I'm talking about here in this comments box. I think it's very sad. I don't want to have to go through it. I don't want to have to deal with this. Okay, there's no time for dealing with this crap. But I have to, because this is what other people are insisting on where the debate, the boundaries of the discussion. I don't care. I'm not going to let these people stop me doing what I think is right. I'm not going to let these people bully me. I think they've coerced Alfred Weber, they've coerced other people into going along with them simply because these people are intimidated into these people are just intimidated, I think, into joining in with this childish, puerile crusade against individuals. I think that's very, very sad indeed. And I just hope that the truth movement gets over it. That's all I can say. And I don't apologise for doing my video of Dr. Jonathan Reed. I'm not completely convinced by his story. I know there are questions that need to be asked about it, but I'm not ready to join in this campaign of just repeating insults again and again and again without any rational content whatsoever. Sophistry, as Stefan Molyneux calls it, because of some 20-year-old website and a mainstream TV program, which is a part of, which I think really is intended to disinform. Firstly, I want to say what I want to say first. Despite the title of this video, I know real shills exist. There's no doubt about it. There are people I suspect are shills. There are people I've named as shills, but not many, because I don't want to accuse people of this very serious charge without evidence. And that's not what you get in the internecine shill shaming. All right, the evidence people have brought up against Daniel Leverite, against Kevin Annett. Darren Perks is another matter, because I haven't looked into that in detail, and I won't because of the way I've been treated. The evidence produced against these other people is ridiculously thin. It's non-existent. It's imaginary. You have personal dislike, but that's all. But I mean, I've heard people calling others shills for the most ridiculous, for the most like I say, for the stupidest and lamest reasons, and the most insubstantial of reasons. I've had people have been accused of. I've known people who accuse others of shills because they have strange Skype names. I know someone who accused a website of being of MI5 Front because they copied the design of the website. Looks slightly like their own. It has the same font in the title strip, for example. And this is just one example of how the kind of false, fuzzy, non-existent logic people use when they decide somebody else is a shill. And Heidi, of course, has called me a shill because of a joke video I did. I mean, this is on her own channel. She put up this video which is basically saying, look, I've confessed to being a shill because I made a joke video about this sort of thing. This is really, really sad, and it's really frustrating. And the sad irony is that like I say, there are real shills in this world, and none of them, if there were any real shills in the truth movement, could never hope to achieve this much division, this much confusion, this much disunity. They really couldn't. We've done it ourselves. We've out-shilled the real shills. Now, people who complain about, accuse someone of being a shill, they may have a genuine gripe. They may have a genuine case. But the moment these accusations come out, they're drowned in this ridiculous... I keep using the word ridiculous, don't I? I need the thesaurus. This ludicrous and insane and asinine, ranting. It's just drowned out, and that's the irony. Is if you ever have real evidence against a shill and you want to expose them, it'll probably just be caught. It'll be immediately sucked down into this whirlpool of shill shaming that I've been complaining about in this film. There may be real shills out there, but they're probably operating under the radar of all this nonsense, all this vacuous shite that people are talking at the moment, and it's. it's like there currently exists in the truth movement. I mean, there are certain people who, there are a particular group of people, a tendency within the conspiratorial community, who have kind of appointed themselves the armchair policemen of the truth movement. And some of them literally do nothing except constantly pontificate over the character of other personalities in our community. Their whole output is about judging and condemning individuals and organisations within the truth movement. And they do it without any hesitation. They do it without any regard, without any appeal from third parties as being, and they, it's unbelievable. And anybody who speaks out, anybody who raises a finger in dispute of these people, are immediately slapped down with the very same guilt, the very same smearing that these truth policemen have so single-handedly dispensed. And sadly, examples of these include the Kent Freedom Movement. They're part of this tendency. And I think that's a shame, like I said. But this, it's hard to know how you get people out of this mindset. There's some people I really admire for what they've done, who have this ability to denounce others as disinfo for no reason. Something because of something they said. If they say something that person disagrees with, they're disinfo. They're working for the government because they disagree with me. They're working for the government. And the worst thing of all is that this distracts. While this is going on, like I said, it allows real shills to get away with what they're doing because they operate under the radar, and it prevents the rest of us. It prevents us from doing what really matters. Okay. It prevents the rest of us from addressing much more serious issues. And I touched on this in the Slaxer video, but we are living in a world now where we're looking at the destruction of our planet as we know it within a human lifetime. Okay, we have chemtrails filling the skies. We have genetically modified crops sprouting out of the bricks between our houses. We have children being abused in care and in churches, by priests, by the police, in hospitals. The secret medical experiments are being conducted on them. We have false flag terrorism that is causing misery across the world. It's killing thousands of people and being used as incitement to kill millions more. We have the soil is being poisoned, the sea is being poisoned. There's an ecocide. There's the war on terror, as even Ian R. Cranes calls it, the war against the earth going on right now. Okay, and that's what I do. That's what I want to do. That's my goal in life. What I've dedicated my life to. I really have dedicated my life to this. Is putting a stop to this, and putting a stop to this once and for all, so we can live in a much better world. It may not be a perfect world, but it'll be an improvement. That's what I want. If we can live in a world, if we're living in a world which is an improvement on what we have now, on the day I die, then I'll lie on my deathbed happy. And I'll go to my maker with a smile on my face. But I'm not. But other people within the truth movement seem to have a different outlook, and they seem to have different goals in life. They seem to have different motives driving them, and I don't understand why. I don't understand why, with everything that's going on in the world, they're going around calling other people shills because they wear rabbit costumes. It's just crazy. And then they accuse me of either being a shill myself or being a coward, because on both sides, of course, will accuse me of being a coward because I won't drop everything else I'm doing and answer their call to arms. Okay? And I have some questions for those people. Okay? If I do as you ask and I join in your crusade, I won't be able to help with the geoengineering, anti-geoengineering anti-geoengineering campaign. Okay, I won't be able to do these chemtrails awareness conferences. If I do as you ask and join in your crusade, then I won't be able to spread the word about children being abused in care homes, like working with Brian Clare, getting on the radio show, helping him, try and bring this out into the open. If I join in your crusade and I do as you ask, I won't be able to host the exopolitics event, which is one of the most vital issues in the world today. If I do as you ask and I join in your crusade, I won't be able to make films about the erosion of a free society, about how we're not allowed to even stand still on the street, about how we're getting red letters sent to us every day because our rent's a few days late, we're getting threatened with eviction. Okay? Make no mistake, because that is what you were asking of me. You have decided to put the time and energy into this crusade, this war against your fellow truthers, this shaming and smearing and discrediting of other people because they put colanders on their heads, or because they ask you out on a date on Skype, or because they weren't the easiest person to work with in a TV studio. All right, that's what you're asking of me to do. Now I promise you, okay, I swear, when we beat this New World Order, I will dedicate 5 years of my life to writing a multi-volume epic about who is a shill and who's not. Who did tit, who did tat. Who's the king of the castle, who's the dirty rascal. I give you my word. But when I see those white lines in the sky, I hear about false flag terrorism, I hear about GMO food, about engineered viruses, about transhumanism, about children being murdered, and our economy being pickaxed into depression. I hope you will understand if until then I reprioritise somewhat.
So, in conclusion, I just have to say that if you think somebody is a shell, okay, firstly, don't say anything straight away. Sit back, take a deep breath, and look at them again. See if there's any real evidence against them. You know, you need proper evidence, such as their behaviour. I mean, as there's a certain ufologist I know who used to be a government official, who you know what I'm talking about. There's good evidence to say that man is a shill. There's evidence to say certain other people is a shill, okay, because of documentary evidence of repeated suspicious behaviour and things like that. Okay, that's what you've got to look out for. Now, one thing you must not do is just accuse people willy-nilly. That's what I'm saying here, just for no reason, or because you personally don't like them, because they've said something personal and you've fallen out with them personally. Okay, if Slacks is not a member of the Truth Movement, but if he was, I would not accuse him of being a shill just because I've fallen out with him. Same with Heidi. Heidi is in the Truth Movement. She's going around calling me a shill. I'm not calling her a shill. I'm just saying it's a personal issue. The only reason I'm even mentioning it is because she has gone very public. She's very publicly speaking out against me, and then that requires a response. And I think that's really what I'm saying here. I'm not saying there are no shills. I'm not saying we shouldn't care about shills. I'm saying that we should be sensible about this, and we should not pick out people for being shills. We shouldn't shill shame people without good reason. Now, Heidi, of course, now has branded me a shill protector for this very reason, because I've said these things. I said these things to her, and for that reason I'm now a shill protector in her eyes. See how this is what I mean by polarisation again. You're either with them, or you're either a member of the Shill Squad or you're a shill protector. Well, I'm not going to get involved with the Shill Squad, and if the Shill Squad want to call me a shill protector for that reason, well, I don't care. I'm going to miss Heidi an awful lot. I've removed the videos that she was in, all of them, and it was difficult to do that because I'm very proud of some of the things we did together. We produced some excellent videos. They were, I think, about important issues. They were well made. There was some real great camera work between us. We did, and they're about and so they had a lot of views. They had several thousand views in some cases. They're gone. Well, I'm going to try and remake them. Okay. I'm going to do everything I can. Some of them can't be remade because there are things like the Bilderberg Group conference and the Bilderberg Group thing. I had to take down some of those videos. The UFO Academy, I had to take down nearly all of them. But I'm going to do everything I can to remake the ones that can be remade. Okay, like the Stargate Brighton one, I'm going to try and remake that, Eel Pie Island. But obviously these will involve travel, so I'm going to have to go back. I'll have to travel back to the places where I was, long distance travel. But you can help me, Panmo TV viewers. See, this is where someone's going to slag me off now. Okay, if you can afford to give me a donation, please do. If you go to the Hapanwo TV blog, that's hapanwo-tv.blogspot.com. At the bottom of the right hand column, there's a donate box. If you can, there's to PayPal. If you can afford to put some money in there, I'll be very grateful. Okay, and I've already been accused by a skeptic of being in this for the money because of that. Even though I've been doing Hapanwo TV since 2008 and Hapanwo since 2006, and I've only just started asking for donations in the last 3 months. I'm still apparently in this for the money, but it will help me. It'll help me remake the videos that I've lost, as well as on new productions that I do. So if you can afford to help me out, I'd be very grateful. It's not obligatory. I won't think any of the worse for you if you don't put money in. Okay. Right. Well, I'm going to leave this now because it's a depressing subject. I want to move on to more cheerful, some more cheerful subjects. Well, my next video is not going to be more cheerful. It's going to be quite upsetting as well, but it is going to be about something that really matters in this world, and not just another accusation of someone who's working for the government because they use a few four-letter words. It's about something serious. I don't want this video to be at the top of my list for too long, so that will be uploaded shortly. Well, thanks for watching Hapanwo TV, everybody. Hospital porters, pride and dignity, stop the New World Order.